A very good evening to you. Welcome to Friday night. My name is Olive Burrows and I'm standing in for one Lillian Muli. Now, bedroom politics played out at the 20th anniversary celebrations of ODM in Mombasa as President William Ruto became the pot calling the kettle black in Ukambani, following his calling out of politics of insults. Stay tuned because this is what we have coming up on Friday night.
My governor, Abdul Samad Deputy Party Leader, you are in leadership today. Ongezeni chama iende mbele.
Is Ruto that needs ODM?
Kuna wengine ambao wanatembea nasi mchana lakini usiku wanajaribu kuuza hii chama. Haiwezekani.
Divided over Ruto. Broad-based differences emerge as the ODM 20th anniversary celebrations continue in Mombasa.
Wale watu wapumbavu wa mambo ya shares.
Who is fooling who? President Ruto, politics of insults, and the art of doublespeak.
Nikiwa mama na mlezi wa taifa hili, ninavyoelekeza vyombo vya sheria na hasa ofisi ya mkurugenzi wa mashtaka kuangalia kiwango cha makosa yaliyofanywa na vijana wetu.
Extending an olive branch. Tanzania's president seeks withdrawal of treason charges against election protesters and forms inquiry team to probe killings.
The young men and women of the Republic of Kenya to troop into the recruitment centers coming Monday. We will get the best.
Police recruitment on Monday. High Court lifts conservatory orders against police recruitment, giving the exercise a go-ahead. I am joined by Njoki Shege as our sign language interpreter. As I hinted at earlier, differences among ODM leaders on whether to support President William Ruto's second term or go it alone and field a presidential candidate in the 2027 general election played out in the open in Mombasa during the party's ongoing 20th anniversary celebrations. Iyala Member of Parliament Winnie Odinga accused a section of party members of attempting to, quote, sell the party, saying such leaders should be stopped from dictating the party's future through boardroom decisions, a move that was supported by the Siaya Governor James Orengo, who insisted that the opposition outfit will not enter into a pre-election pact with President William Ruto's UDA in the build-up to the 2027 general election. We have that report by Seth Olale coming up in a little while, but connected to it, a section of leaders from the Kenya Kwanza Alliance have hinted at a merger between the ruling United Democratic Alliance and the Orange Democratic Movement to form a, quote, formidable political force to secure a second-term victory for President William Ruto come 2027. Speaking at an empowerment forum in Tabo, Uasin Gishu County, the leaders hit out at the opposition, accusing it of spreading tribal politics. With that report is Safin Acheng Omar.
Mailitisa Park in Tarbo constituency, Uasin Gishu County, played host to a border empowerment forum that brought together several leaders from the Kenya Kwanza coalition and their allies. It was here that the leaders hinted at a possible merger between the ruling United Democratic Alliance and the Orange Democratic Movement ahead of the 2027 general election.
001 ODM wamesema wacha rais akuja aingie ODM. So we can assure you ODM na UDA itakuwa kitu kimoja and we are going to form a coalition ya kuchukua serikali 2027.
The leaders warned their opponents to prepare for a grueling battle as they seek to secure President William Ruto's second-term victory.
Jomo Kenyatta amekuwa miaka ngapi kwa presidency? Si amekuwa 15. Mzee wetu marehemu Moi amekuwa miaka ngapi? Huyu Kibaki, mzee wetu Kibaki amekuwa miaka ngapi? Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta amekuwa miaka ngapi? Sasa hata wewe ukikaa hapo unafikiri William atafanya 5? Sasa mimi nimeshika barabara. Na barabara ni William Ruto 2 term.
They criticized opposition leaders for spreading what they termed as tribal politics.
Muwe kama bodaboda. Bodaboda hawana ukabila. Bodaboda anabeba Mkikuyu bila kujali. Anajali ile pesa iko tu kwa mfuko yake. Bodaboda anabeba Mkalenjin. Anajali tu pesa ile iko kwa mfuko ya Mka. Bodaboda anabeba Muluya. Sasa wale wa kabila wanatoka Nyeri, wanaenda hapo Gilgil, wanarudi Nyeri, wanasema wanasikiza ground gani? Hiyo ni ground kweli? Hiyo ni ground. Ukitaka na sisi tunataka kuwaambia, wakitaka kusikiliza ground wakuje hapa Turbo saa hizi, wasikie ground ni 2 term.
Sentiments shared by leaders from Kericho County who hailed the milestones achieved under the broad-based government.
Serikali ya broad-based government iko sawa sawa na tutaendelea na hawa kwa hii safari tukiwa kwa pamoja,
na tunajua Mheshimiwa Rais come 2027 ataingia katika kiti na apate kuendelea mambo ya kazi, ujenzi wa manyumba, mambo ya SHA.
Safin Achieng Omar, Citizen TV.
Now for our top story tonight, and differences among ODM leaders on whether to support President William Ruto's second term or go it alone and field a presidential candidate in the 2027 general election played out in the open in Mombasa during the party's ongoing 20th anniversary celebrations. ELR Member of Parliament Winnie Odinga accused a section of party members of attempting to, quote, sell the party, saying such leaders should be stopped from dictating the party's future through boardroom decisions. A move that was supported by Siaya Governor James Orengo, who insisted that the opposition outfit will not enter into a pre-election pact with President William Ruto's UDA in the build-up to the 2027 general election. Seth Olale has that report.
The debate appeared to have been sparked by Mining Cabinet Secretary Hassan Joho, who asked party chairperson Gladys Wanga and one of her 4 deputies, Abdul Swamad Sherif Nasir, to pronounce the party position without fear.
Abdul Swamad deputy party leader, you are in leadership today. Ongezeni chama iende mbele, musitishwe na kila mtu ongee kwa chama hapa. Not everybody should be a spokesman. Tuko na viongozi ama hatuna viongozi? Tuko nao. Si waongee hawa. Ukiangalia Glado ni mtu wa kutishwa. Dr. Uburu ni mtu wa kutishwa. Sasa wewe nani uongee kama hawa hawajaongea?
Addressing the party's youth summit in Mombasa, ELR Member of Parliament Winnie Odinga accused a section of party members of attempting to sell the party.
People get confused and they act in strange ways. Lakini if anyone is thinking like that, wajua kwamba ODM inajenga na hatuna mchezo. ODM si chama kilichojazaliwa kama siri. Nasikia kuna wengine ambao wanatembea nasi mchana lakini usiku wanajaribu kuuza hii chama. Haiwezekani. ODM was not born in a bedroom. It was not made in a bedroom. So its future will not be discussed as pillow talk. It has been the heartbeat of the Kenyan people for 20 years. ODM was born from protest. It was raised in resistance. And the people of ODM have time and time again bled, sweat, and shed tears for this country called Kenya.
Siaya Senator James Orengo accusing unnamed party officials of portraying the ODM party as desperately needing a coalition pact with President William Ruto's UDA in order to survive.
There are people in the party, they are behaving as if ODM is the one that needs Ruto. Is Ruto that needs ODM? Kwa sababu ameshindwa. I'm not afraid to say. I'm not afraid to say. I have nothing to fear but fear.
Wengi wanasema mambo ambayo waliambiwa na baba wakiwa peke yao. Kila mtu anasema hiyo, na najua hatuwezi kusikizana ni nini baba alituambia tukiwa peke yetu.
Sisi kama chama 2027 lazima tutengeneze serikali. Tumekaa katika upinzani miaka nyingi. Tutatengeneza serikali na wale watu wako na fikra kama yetu.
Officials assuring the youth, women and persons living with disability that the party will advocate for their rights and welfare.
Tusikufe moyo. Kuna wale ambao wamesema ati vile baba sasa hayuko, chama inaenda kusambaratika na chama inaenda kukufa. Nyinyi kina mama mnakubaliana na hiyo?
The debate regarding which leadership direction for the ODM party post its founder, the late Raila Amolo Odinga, is set to be extended on Saturday at the Mama Ngina waterfront, where the 20th anniversary celebrations will continue. Seth Olale, Citizen TV, County 001.
All right, from the coast region, we head to Kambani now, and President William Ruto took on the opposition yet again on day 3 of his Ukambani tour, accusing leaders in the faction of deliberately stirring hatred and resistance towards his administration. Ruto expressed confidence in trouncing his opponents in the 2027 general election and faulted them for not offering alternative solutions to the policies they are opposed to, if indeed they speak for the people. As Kamau Mwangi now reports, the president subtly hinted at ongoing efforts to woo Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka to join government.
Machakos County played host to President William Ruto's third day of his Ukambani tour, where he launched, inspected and commissioned various development projects.
Na Machakos mnasemaje?
It is here that the president yet again called on Kenyans to shun leaders in the opposition for what he says is the adoption of empty rhetoric in opposing his administration's policies.
Akili yao yote inaanza kwa ukabila, inapitia kwa chuki na matusi, inaishia hapo kwa kiburi na kupingana. Ati sasa wale jamaa wanapinga affordable housing, wanapinga markets, wanapinga hostels, wanapinga SHA.
The lack of alternative solutions and the propagation of hatred towards a government that is already delivering on its promises, the president says, will be the grounds upon which he trounces them. He asked Kenyans to examine his track record in the 5 years he shall have served the nation.
Ati mtu anasema ati hana agenda, hana plan, hana mpango yeyote, hana maono, ati atakuja tu aseme one time Kasongo must go, ati alafu apigiwe kura. Kwani wanatupima sisi ni wajinga kiasi gani? Hawa jamaa si tutaonyesha kivumbi asubuhi na mapema.
The president and his deputy, who are on a charm offensive of Kitui, Makueni and Machakos counties, exuded confidence about bringing Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka to their fold, even as they maintain their push for the establishment of an infrastructure fund meant to pool resources for the country's capital-intensive projects.
Hiyo mswada ya infrastructure fund ikifika bungeni, waiunge mkono ndio tujenge barabara mpya, an additional 10,000 kilometers of roads in Kenya, so that we produce more energy, an additional 10,000 megawatts of energy, na tuongeze dams kubwa 50.
This is a time for liberation for the Ukambani people. This is a time for them to realize that we cannot be lied to forever.
Na ukiona mtu ni mwerevu kwa darasa na kushinda, unamfuata, anakuonyesha jinsi mtihani inapitwa. Yule ambaye amekuwa akipita mtihani anaitwa William Samoei.
The president winds up his tour of Ukambani on Saturday, when he's expected to meet grassroots leaders from the region. Kamau Mwangi, Citizen TV.
They are fools, they are brainless. Not my words, but those of President William Ruto at various stops during his campaign tour of Ukambani region. In what is becoming a constant in his campaign speeches, President Ruto has been berating his opponents, questioning their intellectual capacities and declaring outright that they lack brains. And as you'll hear now from Emmanuel Toh, the president's language has been in sharp contrast to his calls against what he terms as politics of insults.
Hana. Akili hana. Huyo ni mtu ya kuchagua.
His campaign tour of Ukambani region has seen President William Ruto take the low road in his description of his opponents, whom he repeatedly called brainless or foolish.
Arambe! Arambe!
His 4-day tour of the region started in Makueni County on Wednesday, and nearly every stop has seen the president directing what can be seen as insulting remarks at the opposition.
Wacheni bwana wasiharibu nchi yetu na watu ambaye ni watu bure. Hii Ukambani imechelewa kwa upinzani siku mingi.
On Thursday, President Ruto took his campaign to the neighboring Kitui County, where he welcomed the crowds to complete his tirade.
Mpango hawana, sera hawana, agenda hawana, hata akili.
But in a rare spectacle in Wote Town, Makueni woman representative Suzanne Kiamba grabbed a sunroof opportunity to push back against President Ruto's language, telling the president to respect other leaders.
Hakuna mtu aliumbwa na sura ya Mungu anaweza kuwa bure kabisa. Kila mtu ameumbwa na sura ya Mungu, hata awe bubu, ana kitu iko ndani yake. Hii maneno ya kusema sisi tukiwa opposition ni bure kabisa, sipendi.
The pushback by the woman representative apparently made no difference as President Ruto resumed his place in the foul language trenches.
Wale watu wapumbavu wa mambo ya shares ya kusema ya kwamba ati nchi ya Kenya inaendeleshwa kwa mapendeleo ama kwa ubaguzi. Mimi nataka niwaambie hiyo ni siasa duni, siasa ya watu wajinga na siasa ambayo haina nafasi katika taifa letu la Kenya. Watakuja hapa, mtawasikia. Watakuwa tu na maneno tatu. Watakuja waseme one term, Kasongo, must go. Hiyo ni ujinga si ujinga. Ni ujinga si ujinga. Wala wanasema hiyo two term.
Fools, brainless, mad and related epithets have been part of President Ruto's arrows in the quiver against his opponents for some time now.
Garissa, assalamu alaikum.
Back in February, referring to his critics as fools when he drummed up support for the controversial nationwide livestock vaccination.
Sasa kuna watu wengine wajinga wanatuambia ya kwamba tusichanje ng'ombe yetu ndio tukose soko ya kimataifa. Sio ni ukumbavu?
Ironically, President Ruto has been punctuating this contestable language with calls for an end to politics of insults.
Let us ignore the naysayers. Let us ignore those who have nothing to offer to us except insults, name-calling, and ethnicity. Let us focus on the future of the nation.
Emmanuel Tor, Citizen TV.
Former Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i has accused President William Ruto of ignoring Kenyan activists Bob Njagi and Nicholas Oyoo, who were arrested and detained in Uganda for more than a month. Matiang'i said Ruto's administration has left Kenyans abroad on their own. And as Stephen Leto reports, Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka has dismissed President Ruto's tour of the Ukambani region and ruled out any talks with Ruto.
The Jubilee Deputy Party leader was in Nyamira County, where he criticized President William Ruto and the Kenya Kwanza administration. Matiang'i claims that his party leader, retired President Uhuru Kenyatta, stepped in to resolve the detention of Kenyans activists Bob Njagi and Nicholas Oyoo in Uganda.
2 Kenyans are arrested and nobody gets them out of that place. It takes the retired president to go and negotiate there and talk kwa sababu yeye ndiye anaheshimiwa na wale kuacha watoto wetu. I mean, how much more incompetent can you be, honestly?
Matiang'i said should he be president, he will restore Kenya's diplomatic standing with its neighbors.
I will not let you down. I will not let you down.
Magreda ilikuwa amewekwa hapa kuonyesha rais analonji barabara.
Speaking in Kibwezi, Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka into President William Ruto's tour of the Ukambani region, saying the region will not be hoodwinked with development that they deserve.
You can't cheat a whole nation. If there's a contractor on site, that contractor should be continuing. Of course, they'll come and say, oh, we're going to mobilize and whatever. But as the president, you should not have allowed them to go and launch a non-existing contract. Perhaps it's not even in the budget.
The Wiper leader added that he is firmly in the presidential race to unseat President Ruto and ruled out any talks with him. In Malava, opposition leaders stepped up the by-election campaigns and warned the government against using police to harass opponents.
Bwana Murkomen, ujue wewe unahatarisha machief wetu. Wewe unahatarisha ma-assistant chief wetu. Uamuzi wa watu wa Malava hadi sasa, hadi tarehe 27 na hautabadilika ya kwamba mbunge wao ajaye wa Malava ni Seth.
Hii kura ya Malava, vile Mheshimiwa Jack amesema, ni kura inatazamwa na Kenya nzima. Wakenya wote wanasema kwamba huyu William Ruto mpaka aende one term.
Stephen Leto, Citizen TV.
The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, has summoned candidates in the upcoming Kasipul constituency parliamentary by-election, which is slated for November the 27th. And this follows recent violence witnessed in the constituency. Speaking after a multi-agency security meeting in Nairobi, the IEBC chairperson, Erastus Ethekon, warned that the electoral body could disqualify candidates found guilty of the electoral offence. Emmanuel Tu has that report.
The recent violent scenes witnessed in Kasipul constituency during the heated by-election campaign forced the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, into a crisis security meeting Friday to propose ways to arrest the situation ahead of the high-stakes polls. IEBC chairperson Erastus Edung Ethekon announcing that the commission had summoned the candidates in the Kasipul constituency parliamentary race to shed light on a violent incident which saw 3 DCI officers seriously injured.
We have empaneled the Code of Conduct Enforcement Committee, which will commence its work on Monday, to summon those candidates in Kasipul and anybody who has information on what happened in Kasipul.
Ethekon warning of serious action against candidates who will have been found guilty of flouting the election code of conduct and the pre-arranged campaign schedules.
Any breaches of the code of conduct, of course, will attract penalties, will attract some form of punishment, including fines, and in severe cases, it might force us to cancel or to disqualify those candidates who will be found to have breached the electoral code of conduct.
The multi-agency team also putting the electoral players on notice as the campaigns enter the home stretch.
Any person who involves himself in a manner that causes breach of the law, including all the other areas, therein included and many others, the National Police Service will not allow.
We have groups that have organized themselves to sell violence, and these provide people or goons who will do the dirty work for politicians.
IEBC says it is ready for one senatorial race, 6 members of the National Assembly elections, and 16 ward by-elections, all to be conducted on the 27th of November. It is now a rush against time for the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission to ensure the November 27th by-election is free, fair and credible, with the Commission now sending a warning shot to all candidates and participants to keep peace ahead of the by-election. Emmanuel To, Citizen TV at the IEBC headquarters, Nairobi.
Staying with elections, and residents of Saru in Marsabit County have accused the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission of failing to conduct voter registration in their area for nearly 5 years. They say thousands of young people who have acquired national identity cards since the last general election now risk being locked out of the 2027 polls. As Emily Chebet reports, the nearest IEBC office is in Marsabit town, almost 800 kilometers away, where transport costs exceed 2,000 shillings one way. A burden many cannot afford as they battle drought and hunger.
In Saru Balesa village, frustration is growing. Residents claim that since 2021, Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission officials have not returned to conduct voter registration, leaving an entire generation of new ID holders unregistered. Mohammed Noor cleared high school in 2018. The wait for a national ID was a whole different story. And after getting it, his hopes of participating in the next general election are slowly fading.
Hatuna pesa, hatuna kazi. Toka hapa Marsabit distance ni 800 km. Fare ya gari ni 2K. Sasa hiyo 2K kama Gen Z nitoe wapi?
Kadi argane. Kura narga.
Sijapata kadi ya kura lakini niko na ID. Ningetaka pia mimi kupiga kura.
No mali serikali.
Walikuja kitambo kabla hata kupigwa kura ile ya juzi. Ya election ya juzi. Mbele yake ndio walifika na hakuna mtu ambaye tangu siku hiyo hatujaona.
The residents, who are predominantly pastoralists, are disputing the population figures from the region. They accuse the Electoral Commission of inconsistent voter registration, saying the irregularities have resulted in discrimination, denying them the right to choose their leaders or even contest elective positions.
Sasa mtu akienda kupiga kura bado mimi nakaa kwa nyumba. Hata time election sasa sijui hata ni elect nani juu sina kura. Hata siwezi apply any agents ya kura.
Tuko na over 2000 new ID registration imefanyika hapa. Wanakuja one day ama siku mbili. Na wakati huo sisi ni watu wafugaji. Mara watoto hii wanaenda kuwa kwa mifugo. So wanakuanga some distance.
Area hii iko chini sana upande ya kura. Na population iko wengi. Kwa hivyo tunaomba IBC wafanye bidii, watume vijana ama wawe wakikaa hapa.
Several other wards in the county are yet to undergo voter registration. Residents are calling for interventions to ensure they receive their voter cards ahead of the 2027 general election. Emily Chebet, Citizen TV.
Just across the border, Tanzania's President Samia Suluhu Hassan has announced a pardon for youth arrested and charged with treason in connection with post-election unrest. The president directing the Director of Public Prosecutions to review and withdraw charges against more than 300 young people implicated in the disturbances. Quoting the Bible, President Samia said the youth did not know what they were doing. She further announced the formation of a commission of inquiry to investigate the deaths witnessed in the election protests. Here now is Citizen TV's Ben Kirui.
She used the opening of Tanzania's 13th parliament to revisit the turmoil that followed the country's recent elections, outlining fresh measures aimed at restoring peace and unity, including the formation of a commission of inquiry to probe the deaths of hundreds.
Natoa pole kwa familia zote zilizopoteza wapendwa wao, na tunaomba Mwenyezi Mungu kama tulivyoomba awapumzishe kwa amani. Serikali imechukua hatua ya kuunda tume ya kuchunguza yaliyotokea, yani inquiry commission, ili tujue kiini cha tatizo.
Addressing 393 lawmakers who punctuated nearly every remark with applause, President Samia spoke of approaching the post-election period with a reconciliation in mind, announcing a pardon for individuals arrested and charged with treason for allegedly taking part in the election violence with intent to disrupt the polls.
Ninavielekeza vyombo vya sheria na hasa ofisi ya mkurugenzi wa mashtaka kuangalia kiwango cha makosa yaliyofanywa na vijana wetu. Kwa wale ambao wanaonekana walifuata mkumbo na hawakudhamiria kufanya uhalifu, wawafutie makosa yao.
Quoting the Holy Book, she said that as the mother of the nation, she believed the more than 300 youth involved were driven by political excitement rather than any intention to plunge the country into chaos.
Natoa msamaha huo kwa sababu hata maneno ya Mwenyezi Mungu katika kitabu cha Luka sura ya 23 mstari wa 34 yanasema, na hapa nanukuu, Yesu akasema, Baba uwasamehe kwa kuwa hawajui watendalo.
In her speech, President Samia blamed foreign actors for the unrest, urging Tanzanians to resist external influence aimed at destabilizing their nation.
Tukubaliane jinsi ya kuendesha nchi yetu kidemokrasia kwa kuzingatia tamaduni, mila na desturi zetu na sio za kuletewa.
She further revealed that constitutional amendments will be undertaken within the next 100 days.
Serikali imeahidi kuanza kulifanyia kazi suala la mabadiliko ya katiba ndani ya siku 100 za muhula wa pili wa awamu ya 6 kwa kuanza na tume ya usuluhishi na maelewano.
The October 29th election drew widespread criticism over a lack of transparency and freedom, with the election process sparking violence largely attributed to how opaque it was. Ben Kirui, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
We take a break on a Friday night, but here is what we have lined up.
The recruitment date is 17th November 2025, that is coming Monday. And the hours are between 8 a.m. in the morning up to 5 p.m.
Police recruitment on Monday. High Court lifts conservatory orders against police recruitment, giving the exercise a nod. Thank you for staying with myself and Njoki Shege on Friday night. Nationwide police recruitment will take place on Monday after the High Court issued a green light for the recruitment of 10,000 police officers across the country. Justice Bahati Mwamuye suspended orders issued on November the 10th following a challenge against the exercise. Police Inspector General Douglas Kanja says the lifting of the orders against the exercise means it will continue as planned on Monday. He's warned those plotting to solicit money from unsuspecting Kenyans. IG Kanja further assured all Kenyans that the process will be free and fair.
The recruitment date is 17th November 2025, that is coming Monday. And the hours are between 8 a.m. in the morning up to 5 p.m. in the evening. In all the 427 recruitment centers that are distributed throughout the Republic of Kenya, the exercise is free of charge. No corruption. Any of our officers involved in corruption, we will carry out appropriate actions.
Staying with matters law enforcement, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission today conducted a search operation at the residence and offices of Gishunge Kabebea, the chairperson of the Board of Directors of the Anti-Counterfeit Authority, in relation to corruption allegations. EACC obtained court orders following preliminary investigations into the allegations of bribery and extortion of local and foreign investors and unexplained wealth against Kabebea. In a media statement, EACC said on the 11th of this month, Kabebea allegedly requested for a bribe of 5 million shillings from a Chinese businessman accusing him of selling counterfeit products. Kabebea allegedly reduced the amount to 150,000 shillings, which was sent to his driver's phone. EACC alleges that the Anti-Counterfeit Agency board chair also requested for 10 million shillings, a bribe from a firm, and ended up receiving 8 million shillings. He's currently held at Integrity Center for statement recording and further processing. A section of SUPKEM leaders are demanding the immediate resignation of SUPKEM National Chair Hassan Ole Nado after leaked CCTV footage showed him allegedly pointing a firearm at peaceful protesters. As reporter O'Day Francis details, the suspected discharge of a weapon is linked to ongoing leadership disputes that have plagued SUPKEM elections since 2017, with Ole Nado retaining control as national chair.
On October 24, 2025, the SUPKEM National Office transformed into a potential crime scene when youth gathered to demand elections were forced to scatter as National Chairman Hassan Ole Nado emerged and allegedly opened fire on the assembled protesters. Exclusive CCTV footage secured by Citizen TV reveals that at precisely 1:04 p.m., Ole Nado exited his office accompanied by an unidentified male and discharged a firearm towards protesters encamped outside his premises. A section of Muslims wants the immediate ouster of the SUPKEM national chair.
Kenyans, and in particular the Muslim community, are outraged by the viral video clip in circulation clearly showing the so-called chairman of the Supreme Council of Kenya Muslims repeatedly shooting at unarmed Muslim youth outside Islamia House, Nairobi, on or about 24th October 2025.
They are demanding government intervention to ensure new elections take place and prevent further escalation of violence.
How can you shoot at kids who are just saying we need election? You cannot keep yourself in an office without due process that brought you there. Now, I think the challenges or whatever we are facing here is because Ole Nado has never been elected by Muslim community. He was brought in through the back door.
Repeated attempts to obtain a response from Hassan Ole Nado via phone yielded no substantive comment.
I'm calling you in regards to a story following of shooting on 24th around 1 p.m., around 1 and 2 p.m. We just wanted to get your side of the story.
Yeah, actually, I don't have anything to say. Yeah, thank you.
The leadership dispute at SUPKEM appeared to be far from resolved. O'Day Francis, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Agriculture Principal Secretary Dr. Paul Rono has called out all Kenya Tea Development Authority directors for dragging their feet amid calls for internal audit of accounts by government officials. Speaking on Friday in Kipkelion East, Kericho County, where he paid a courtesy call to Kichawir Coffee Farmers Cooperative, the PS put on notice directors of tea factories who are out to exploit peasant farmers, saying their days are numbered and they soon will be facing the law on corruption allegations. Rono singled out directors from West Rift Valley who addressed media in Kisumu, adding that tea matters should be addressed from tea growing zones.
Na kama unajua hiyo pesa ulichukua ulitumia kwa njia mbaya, tafuta prison karibu na wewe, ingia ndani, ingoshia file ndani. Hakuna haja usumbua kotini, utafuta lawyers, usumbua wakulima, alafu unajua ile dhambi umefanya. Kama unajua kuna corruption, umechukua pesa ya mkulima bila ruhusa, bila haki, ukatumia mbaya, hakuna haja kuenda kotini kufurukana na serikali.
A Dutch national who was arrested and detained last month after insulting police officers in Diani, Kwale County, has been released without facing any charges. The Kwale court, under Magistrate Joy Mutimba, released Elwin Tarahorst after a mental health examination established that he suffers from bipolar disorder and is therefore unfit to stand trial on charges that include drug trafficking, assaulting his partner, and causing disturbance. The court has ordered that he be presented to the Netherlands Embassy in Nairobi for further action due to his health condition.
My sincere apologies. I want to say sorry. It was wrong. It is not what I want to do. I want to live peaceful and happily in Kenya. I'm sorry for what happened and it won't happen again.
We go. CAB, Safaricom, the National Transport and Safety Authority, and the Boda Boda Association of Kenya joined other stakeholders in creating implementation pathways for the 2- and 3-wheeler transport ecosystem in Kenya. The multi-sectoral forum is working towards a national framework to guide safety and sustainability, transforming urban mobility and road accidents in Kenya, alongside plans to roll out county-level road safety and sustainability clinics. The clinics are said to offer structured rider training, compliance checks and digital tools, and with holiday travel set to peak and accident numbers historically rising during this period, stakeholders hope that commitments from digital tracking to county-level safety clinics will offer real protection for road users.
Apart from us being the newest in the market and a local company, we are also providing 90% commission to riders or drivers in a quest to improve the experience as far as earnings, because one of the reasons why these people get involved is trying to do more trips, so fatigue is a very big contributor. So with better earnings from a platform like ours, they are able to work within a good time or within the allowed hours.
We all know that the festive season means there is a lot of heightened travel. Yeah. And when we have everybody traveling, many things happen in the road because there may be demand for vehicles. So you'll realize that many people are entering to transport people to meet the demand.
We had a fruitful engagement here. Put together by different stakeholders, among them NTSA and Safaricom. They are talking on empowering the SACCOs through making available ways of savings through Ratiba.
A masterclass and event series for creative entrepreneurs, writers and producers in Africa gathered in Nairobi with storytellers from Hollywood for a brainstorming session aimed at creatively growing the industry globally. Speaking during the occasion, Sahihi Session CEO Becky Mwikia called on the need to collaborate and bridge the gap with content consumers amid evolving technology. Creators acknowledged that such sessions will help the industry identify strengths and weaknesses while developing more compelling techniques necessary for engaging storytelling.
With the emergence of AI, with the recession we are going through globally, it's definitely affected us locally. And so we're not getting content commissioned as much as we were in the past. So it feels like there's a defeatist vibe going on. What I would encourage the industry is to keep creating, keep telling stories.
I think Kenya has such a promising and burgeoning industry that has been, I think, on the forefront of a lot of people's minds when they think of African content. So it's how do you strategically start figuring out what are the next steps? My goal as someone who works in artist development and artist support is really to create safe spaces for knowledge share and bringing together people who have been in the industry for a long time in the US.
Inoro TV's 10th anniversary celebrations continue to excite viewers across the Mount Kenya region. Residents of Embu, Kirinyaga and Nyeri counties got a rare opportunity to meet and interact with the Inoro TV presenters leading the festivities. Royal Media Services has organized a series of events to celebrate with the Inoro TV fans across Mount Kenya and other areas, whose support has kept the station at the top in the region. The celebrations will culminate tonight with a vibrant Mugithi night at the Bantu Resort in Nyeri County.
Pata mashabiki wengi sana ambao wanatizama vipindi vyote vya Inooro TV. Na jambo lingine niseme, wameweza kutuonesha upendo mwingi sana. Manake wakati tuliwaambia tutakuja kuwatembelea katika maeneo yao, wameweza kujitokeza kwa mpigo.
Imekuwa runinga ya kudhibitisha ya kwamba habari, kuanzia habari zinazopeanwa, kuanzia vipindi, hii ni runinga inayoenziwa na wengi. Na kwa hivyo ni kushukuru tu watazamaji wetu, miaka 10 ya utangazaji.
We take a break, but business news up next. NCBA suffers setback after court decision on 2019 stamp duty waiver. NCBA Group has suffered a legal setback after the High Court rejected its application to halt a ruling that cancels the 2019 stamp duty exemption granted during its merger with NIC Bank. Justice Chacha Mwita said the bank had not shown that it would face irreparable loss if the judgment is enforced pending appeal. Earlier this year, the High Court ruled the stamp duty waiver unconstitutional and illegal, saying it violated both the Stamp Duty Act and the Constitution. NCBA then moved to halt the ruling, maintaining the waiver was lawfully granted in the public interest, a position supported by the National Treasury. Senator Okiya Omtata, who filed the case, argued the exemption lacked parliamentary approval and breached public finance laws. The ruling could now force NCBA to pay over 384 million shillings in stamp duty to the Kenya Revenue Authority unless the Court of Appeal intervenes. The government is setting out its next trade steps following the expiry of the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA. Speaking during the AmCham State of Trade Forum in Nairobi, Trade Cabinet Secretary Lee Kinyanjui said the government is strengthening its industrial base by expanding special economic zones, investing in electric mobility and pharmaceuticals, and diversifying supply chains as the country waits for further guidance from Washington on a new trade arrangement. Kinyanjui adding that the lifting of the moratorium on power purchase agreements is expected to improve energy reliability and support the manufacturing sector. On her part, AmCham Kenya Board President Angela Ng'ang'a says the post-AGOA period presents an opportunity to deepen the Kenya-US trade relationship. The latest data shows U.S. exports to Kenya reached $771 million in 2024, while Kenyan exports stood at $737 million, led by apparel, coffee, and cut flowers. Equity Group Foundation has partnered with the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, in a move that will see the lender provide robust support to businesses through accelerating innovation to drive inclusive economic growth across Africa. Through this Memorandum of Understanding, UNDP and Equity Group Foundation will establish centers of excellence under the UNDP's flagship Timbuktu initiative to foster innovation and empower entrepreneurs. The centers will provide comprehensive training, mentorship, and improve access to finance, enabling the creation and growth of high-potential, climate-neutral businesses.
So we see the whole spectrum of possibilities that young people could be engaged in. And we couldn't get a better partner to do this project with, because UNDP has built a global brand. And it's not just a brand, but it's a brand that is associated with knowledge, thought leadership and intellectual power, and beyond that, convening power. So when we looked at these, we saw we couldn't get a better partner.
Because we've been 60 years in the business of ending poverty, hasn't ended. So we're changing tack and say, let's invest in wealth creation and shared prosperity as a lens. And perhaps that will be the force that actually drives poverty out the door. So it's a different way of looking at it. And it also means that we start to have different partnerships. And a partnership with Equity Group is one that symbolizes or sort of illustrates that shift.
Kenya has an opportunity to position itself as a strategic player in the global IT market. But experts say the country must broaden training beyond entry-level roles to fully capitalize on rising demand for tech professionals around the world. A new survey by Tifa Research for the Friedrich Naumann Foundation reveals that European markets, such as Germany, offer a wider range of IT roles and significantly higher pay for advanced positions. To capitalize on these markets, experts say workers in the IT sector here in the country should focus on specialized roles to improve competitiveness. Kenya, in comparison to other labor markets, is positioned as a mid-cost option, offering better quality services and cultural alignment than low-cost markets such as India.
Ourselves, what will actually make and endear us to the clients and the customers.
The global north is witnessing demographic changes. It's an aging population. The economies of Europe, of Germany, are in dire need of skilled experts, especially in the fields of IT, while much of the global south, and Kenya is a prime example here, has a useful population, a talented population with a great supply of talents, especially in the IT sector. And the idea is to see how we can bring together this supply of skills and labor in Kenya with the demand by the economy in Germany through remote work.
We seem to have a different or shortage in the specialization required in Europe. And therefore, it means that if you're going to compete for these jobs, we must begin to have the certifications or evidence of that skill that is being demanded in Europe or in Germany. And therefore, it means that we must begin to think about strategic upskilling.
So the youth unemployment thing is both a serious challenge, but also a big opportunity for Kenya. But it is such a big issue that it does require all hands on deck. It requires the work of government to come up with structure, to come up with very clear, practical ways of creating employment. It requires private sector to do its part in hiring talent.
The national football team, the Harambee Stars, sadly lost 1-0 to Equatorial Guinea in a friendly match played in Antalya, Turkey earlier this evening. The lone goal was scored via a late first-half penalty. Coach Benny McCarthy used mainly locally based players in the match. Kenya Ports Authority bowed out of the Women Basketball League Africa Zone 5 qualifiers after being humiliated 62-45 by REG of Rwanda in a low-scoring semi-final match at the Nyayo National Stadium Gymnasium this evening. Like in all their matches, KPA had an explosive start, taking a 5-point lead in the first quarter, but REG clawed back into the match with deadly three-pointers to take the lead with a low score of 23-22 at halftime. The Rwandese outfit brought their A-game in the third quarter, taking advantage of 3 consecutive turnovers to hit the same number of 3-pointers as they opened up a gap of 8 points. KPA did not score any points for 8 minutes in the quarter as REG raced to a 46-28 lead. KPA had a massive 15 turnovers as they lost 30 points from that in the match. With a huge 62-45 win, REG will meet another Rwanda team, APR, in the final to be played tomorrow at the Nyayo National Stadium. The national football team, Harambee Stars, will play a top football nation to open the Talanta Sports City Stadium early next year. The stadium is 66% complete and will be operational in February next year, 2 months behind the initial deadline of December 2025. The outside works and major fittings will be done by December 31st as the contractor ships in the required material to finish the stadium from China. The stadium will be connected to the Bomas of Kenya via a railway line, with major roadworks set to begin soon. The football and rugby-only stadium will have 3 training pitches around it that can be used for low-risk matches. Sports Cabinet Secretary Salim Vuria, who was on an inspection tour of the stadium today, says the workforce at the stadium has been reduced by half to 1,500, but work still continues day and night.
External works, we have around 54 skyboxes in here. And the external works equally have started. Some painting, first coat has been done, and more is being done. So I think our visit here is just to make sure that everything is on schedule. We had a team which went to China to confirm, a lot of the other materials which have already arrived.
Bidco United missed the chance to climb to 3rd in the Kenya Premier League standings after playing out to a barren draw against KCB. Both teams have been firing blanks of late, Bidco scoring in only 1 of the last 5 matches. Bidco on 12 points are 6th and join 5 other teams on the same number of points. KCB, on the other hand, have not won in the last 5 matches, drawing 2 and losing 3 as they drop to 12th, tied on 8 points with 3 other teams. 3 more matches will be played on Saturday: Posta Rangers versus Mara Sugar, Bandari entertaining Sofapaka, and Mathare United hosting Kakamega Homeboys.
Anaingia ndani Roland Makati, anaileta chini kwa chini, umeikosa wote.